You like jazz? Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be discussing a pretty alarming topic, game, and practice, all in one. And it is about a horse game, I'm sorry, I know, when will it end, when will it end? We will be going over Equinox Homecoming, a brand new game that was released in early access earlier this year. I did a video on this and also a live stream, and I had hope. I had so much hope. But here we are. This video will include opinions, facts, and a small history lesson. This is my first ever research video and possibly controversial video. I hope it doesn't cause too much controversy, so go easy on me and remember to show some love. I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but this video in no way is trying to harm or attack the game studio or game itself. Do not go out of your way to use this video to harm other people. Also, this is going to be a long video, so I put up sections if you want them. Let the controversy commence! The niche and topic of horse games or equestrian gaming in general has always been targeted compared to other styles of games. Star Stable Online, Red Dead Redemption 2, Rival Stars, Horse Tales, and all games alike, they all have one thing in common. Their horsey side of the community plays for their fix of equestrian and equine gaming. People go to these games to get that little dosage of realism outside of their real life. A lot of these games have something else in common: microtransactions. Giving some money to the game. In-game currency, new outfit, subscriptions. There are so many ways for these companies to charge more and more and more. Free or not, most games tend to be bold because they know players will continue to fund their poor marketing strategies. The equestrian gaming community is notably passionate and engaged. Many players are willing to invest time and money into these games due to their unique focus on horse-related content. However, there's a growing discourse around the ethics of monetization strategies. We'll go over this right now. All public sources used for this video are going to be in the description. Let's go over the value for money. Players question whether the costs of digital items such as DLCs and in-game items reflects their actual value, especially when prices rival those of complete games, or the target audience concerns. Given that many equestrian games appeal to younger audience, there's apprehension about marketing tactics that may exploit children's enthusiasm, leading to excessive spending. When kids go up to their parents to ask for money to spend on games, a lot of parents don't really look into it much more than how much it costs. So with the blindness of kids not realizing that the item that they're spending money on isn't actually legally theirs, the parents don't look into it either because all they really want to know is how much it costs. I'm not saying all parents, there's a lot of parents who do a little bit of investigating first. Those are the best types. And then we have the whole gameplay impact. While some games ensure that purchases are cosmetic and don't affect gameplay, others blur this line, potentially creating a pay-to-win environment that could disadvantage non-paying players. I don't know if you guys have ever seen those videos of people playing like Genshin Impact or another game that a lot of people get further quicker because of the money that they pay, but these people don't pay any money and get to the same point. It just takes a lot of time. That, for example, is not pay to win. Star Stable is pay to win because you have to pay in order to get anywhere closer to the end of the current quest line. So overall, unless it's a subscription-based entry, it's a pretty scummy way of making money, at least in my opinion. For reasons now known, many companies base their content or game off of something that they know will get them money. Now that you know all of that, it's time to go to our next topic. Ever since the first excitement wave of horse girls and enthusiasts alike, developers have been dipping their toes in the horsey niche water in hopes to find their next payout. In recent years, indie developers have begun to recognize and address this gap, striving to create games that resonate with both gamers and horse lovers. Some of these developers are genuinely focusing on authenticity, incorporating realistic horse behavior, genetics, and care into their games. For instance, the Ranch of Rivershine offers players the experience of building and managing a ranch, breeding horses with attention to real-world genetics, and participating in competitions. This is the perfect example of a developer who took the time, energy, and community feedback and turned it into a work of art. On the surface, there's nothing inherently wrong with a developer choosing to build a horse game, or any game, about whatever subject they please. Creative freedom is the lifeblood of our industry. The problem arises when that freedom is wielded as an excuse for minimal effort. Too often, we see titles launched in early access purgatory, stripped of core mechanics, half-baked features, and glaring bugs. All while the buy now for exclusive founder rewards button sits front and center. Rewards that, mind you, are not promised or verified legally. I'm not arguing that every project needs to be a fully polished, lore-rich epic on day one. Early access can be an excellent model for community-driven development. But when what you're selling is essentially an empty stable with no tack, no track, and no training, yet you still ask players to empty their wallets, it reflects poorly on the entire genre. Consumers start to question whether any horse game is worth their time or money. Veteran developers get unfairly tarred with the same brush, and genuine innovation is stifled under a mountain of distrust. I feel like every new horsey game or horse-inspired game is us closing our eyes, crossing our fingers, and hoping for the best. In short, it's not the topic that's the issue, it's the transactional betrayal of players' expectations. When a game offers little more than a promise and a price tag, it doesn't just disappoint. It undermines every future horse lover looking for an authentic, engaging ride. Many developers opt to launch their projects in early access as a way to blend live community engagement with the reality of indie funding. In practice, this means releasing a playable but unfinished build to a select or general audience, often at a reduced price point long before the final polish has been applied. Early access isn't about selling a half-baked product. It's about inventing a development cycle in which real players can help stress test core systems, flag bugs, and suggest features. Sadly, this process with horse games has been exploited time and time again. They release games with a few hours max of solid gameplay at the price of a fully developed game and expect everyone to be exciting on each excruciatingly slow bit of update. And pretty often, these game studios don't release a full development date, both because they want enough room and time to develop, but also because they don't want to seal up a promise. Many studios lean on middleware asset stores, purchasing off-the-shelf horse models, environment packs, or high-quality trailer renders to accelerate development. While this can be a smart way to manage budgets and hit ambitious deadlines, it also opens the doors to less than ideal practices. A pre-rendered cinematic trailer might showcase photorealistic herds galloping through sun-dappled valleys, but that footage often runs on specialized hardware or custom rendering pipelines, not the same engine or assets powering the actual builds players will download. It's like those game advertisements that show fun little mini games, but when you download the game, it doesn't actually have that game in it, it's just a completely different game. It's false advertisement. When the final product ships with blocky textures, minimal animation variety, or placeholder meshes, backers feel like they've been sold a promise rather than a playable experience. In short, relying on pre-made models and renders isn't inherently exploitative. It is a valid strategy for small teams, but combining render quality with the in-game actuality is. A developer's reputation hinges on the gap between trailer and play. Narrow it honestly, or prepare for the backlash that comes when reality falls short of the render. Now that we have the basis down, let's explore Equinox Homecoming and why it has become one of the biggest hits on the horse games Reddit thread. Not a flex, but it happens. I just want you guys to know that I'm probably not going to pronounce names correctly, and I'm sorry. Colin Cragg, the CEO and co-founder of Blue Scarab Entertainment, previously served as the CEO of Star Stable Entertainment. Is it lining up yet? Are the stars aligning in the sky for you? I'm just gonna pop this in right here. I was editing and looking through my sources. There are quite a few articles that show what Cragg said about their image and their goals as a game studio. And mind you, as CEO, he's speaking for everyone that's working under that company. And to the team, if you're listening to me, this is nothing against you. But saying that you are going to be approaching a title for women and for girls instead of just making it for horse enthusiasts in general, it's just a little bit scuffed. And I'm unsure if this context is completely about Equinox, but he says something about not wanting to make another survival PvP title. And I understand the want and need for making a game that's different from others, but relating it all to women and girls and adding things just for that demographic is just so against what you're trying to preach. There is always going to be a demographic that unintentionally feels ignored against the developer's will. But going into this, despite what the gameplay is like, saying that you're going to be looking at a very specific gender demographic is going completely against the point that you're saying about ignoring 52% of the world population. It's just tying things to gender, and I don't think that should be done in a game because you never know who's playing and who's looking for representation. It's like games tying tattoos to the male gender and makeup to the female gender. Like, I'm a woman, I wear makeup, and I'm tatted. But this was just going to be a quick added part, so let's get back into the video. Despite the success of Star Stable Online, Cragg claimed that the game primarily targeted a younger demographic. He identified a gap in the market for more mature, story-rich equestrian games. This realization motivated him to establish Blue Scarab Entertainment, aiming to create games that respect and cater to an older audience interested in equestrian themes. With Equinox Homecoming, Cragg intends to offer a game that treats its audience with the same seriousness and budget typically reserved for mainstream genres. He questioned why games targeting the equestrian niche often lack the depth and quality found in other games. He stated, "What would happen if we actually approached a title for this demographic with the same seriousness and budget that we would give to, like, a AA kind of production for any other demographic?" Well, Colin, actually we're not on a first name basis. I apologize. Well, Mr. Cragg, I am here to inform you that you have tried to change the atmosphere by seemingly making the same exact money-hungry game. Same words, different font. Also, adding cuss words to a game does not make it scary for kids, I fear. I've been cussed out by a child in Walmart. The game monetization strategy includes a $24.99 early access purchase, which grants players a lifetime subscription to story content. This is a whopping 8 to 12 hours of gameplay. Light work for us gamers. In their statement behind subscription, they said, "We want to continue to deliver great story content, and as a small studio with no major publisher backing us, we'll be using a monthly subscription system to do so. Players who join us during the early access period will get a lifetime subscription." Post-launch, the developers plan to implement a monthly subscription model and offer additional downloadable content, or a DLC, such as brand new breeds. This is what confuses me. DLC stands for downloadable content, so you're basically paying for an expansion. Expansions in subscription-based games are rare because it's difficult to keep players out of every single area, and it's also scummy. Like, hey, we know you're paying a portion of your paycheck every month to see your pixel ponies, but we also have this brand new pixel pony for another payment. If people are already providing their hard-earned money to you, why ask for more just for the sake of extra content? Why not offer everyone content for the one payment they make? Is it because they are scared of early access players being the only ones they get? Is it because they think their hole of money will fill in eventually? It's not making sense to ask for a reoccurring payment and then also ask for future additional payments just to get a horse. A new area, yes, that sounds cooler, but just a new mount? Just one topic added? DLC would be a new mount, new clothing, new areas, new quests, and a whole group of items. Think Sims expansion pack. It'd be something worth buying. They allegedly spoke about a DLC for each horse breed, which does not make sense to me. Even Star Stable has not stooped that low. With paying money to continue the game in mind, will Equinox be qualified as pay to win? On their Steam page, they stated, "Over time, our goal is to add new horse breeds and horses as additional DLC. We have already covered that, and from my belief, DLCs are not just horses." Additional answers were also provided by Ash, one of the community directors. Will additional horses be bought with virtual currency, or will it be a bundle DLC? The intention is to provide options for both in the future. That currency will be earned in-game or provided via the subscription benefits. So when a horse is available as DLC, it will also be available for purchase with your subscription currency. Is the game pay to win? No, the intention is to allow players to purchase cosmetic items. Some horse breeds may have slightly different stats to the default horse, but not in ways that should be game-breaking or provide any significant unfair advantage. Alright, let's back it up here. Let's bring it on back. Some horse breeds may have slightly different stats to the default horse, but not in ways that should be game-breaking or provide any significant unfair advantage. So some horse breeds that are not accessible without currency you get by paying will have an advantage, but not a drastic one, but still an advantage nonetheless. There are timed races and records in this game, so every second matters, yet they will have better horses? Faster breeds? It's like the rage of SSO championships all over again. I'm also going to ask this question to make y'all use that noggin of yours. If you can buy new horses and breeds with in-game money that you'll get anyways because a subscription is required to play, then how will it be a DLC? To my knowledge and the internet's knowledge, a DLC stands for downloadable content, and it's really only unlockable through external funds. I just wish that they would either reiterate or reword, because DLC is kind of a more out there term, and you don't see DLC connected to a brand new horse or a brand new clothing item. Then again, DLC doesn't have to be just a bunch of things. It can be one thing, but a lot of people, when they hear DLC and purchase, they assume that there will be more than just one horse breed. Remember when they said, "We want to continue to deliver great story content, and as a small studio with no major publisher backing us, we'll be using a monthly subscription system to do so." In their defense for my next statement, I do not work in the game industry. I'm just a little suspicious of this. To me, this is another red flag. A publisher. If we put on an investigative lens, there are a few layers to unpack here, both about what major publisher backing really means and why the no publisher line gets used as justification for extra costs like subscriptions. A major publisher, think EA, Ubisoft, Nintendo, Sony, etc., usually does things like funds development upfront, covering salaries, assets, marketing, QA, and distribution, handles marketing and distribution, ensuring the game gets wide visibility, absorbs financial risk, meaning the devs don't have to self-fund or rely on community money during production, often provides development support like QA teams, localization, and porting to multiple platforms. Without these resources, an indie or small studio has to self-fund or rely on crowdfunding/early access, market the game themselves, which is expensive and time-consuming, take on all financial risks. If sales drop, the studio might not be able to keep the team afloat. Here's where the framing gets slippery. The genuine explanation may be that without a publisher, reoccurring income helps keep staff paid, cover server costs, and funds outgoing story content without having to release a brand new paid expansion every time. I have said it so many times, I'm sorry, but I am in marketing. Every movement like this is obvious, and if it's not, they have found another way. No publisher quickly becomes a sympathy card, encouraging players to overlook questionable monetization practices. It's positioning, making the subscription feel like a noble necessity rather than a business decision. And I promise, I am not a jerk. I understand these are people's jobs and incomes, but they're also aware of what their studio stands for and how it gets its money. I'd feel terrible if someone lost their job after an article or a video, but I would also feel bad if they knew they were taking from their pockets like they potentially plan to. Publishers take away a portion of every cent you make. So with a publisher, the profit and payments to each project and member of the studio can be difficult to keep up. But publishers also help with major marketing and exposure, meaning you have a lot of the tough and more mundane stuff handled, and you can focus fully on producing more content for the game. To really make my points concrete, there are some games who have done this in the past and received very public and financial backlash. Destiny 2 is a very popular and notably free game, though it offers DLCs like major story updates and season passes. After splitting from the heavily funded production company Activision in 2019, they proposed an idea to make subscriptions a thing on top of the regular payments. They claimed this was because they have split from their major publisher, so they need more money. So you'd be paying around $10 USD for 3-month passes, upwards to $60 for story expansions, and the subscription. In all, Destiny DLC is priced at $564, and that was a year ago, maybe more today. So imagine that over time plus a slapped-on subscription. Thankfully, the staff and community had a massive uproar, and the production management squashed the idea. It wasn't just the players who stepped up. The staff also stated their disappointment. Destiny 2's studio, Bungie, paired with Sony in 2022 and have stated to be on the right track since then. And then you have games like Elite Dangerous by Frontier Developments that release DLCs and expanded content in poor shape and then do not double back to fix them, allegedly claiming they need the money to keep running their publisher-free studio. As of this article's publishing, it's sitting at 33% positive reviews on Steam, a rating of mostly negative. That's compared compared to 77% positive for the 5-year-old game's core release. Users cite a range of issues, mostly fixated around incredibly poor performance on all manner of hardware, from minimum requirements to recommended hardware. Players argue that being self-funded didn't justify the price tag or unfinished state. So with my argument being presented loudly and clearly, I come at you with a concept and the harsh reality of game development. Having no publisher is not an excuse to charge players more money on top of the money they are paying for the game. Early access will get a lifetime subscription with no additional future subscription costs. So early access gamers will not have to pay a subscription, but they will have to pay for DLCs. I rest my case. Either way, you will be shelling out dough. I found this out after the voiceover, so I'm so sorry about the background noise from my AC, but from the Blue Scarab website. This article reads, Blue Scarab Entertainment just opened a brand new game studio in Stockholm. They've already pulled in over $7 million in funding, led by NetEase and Behold Ventures. Plus big names from Fury, Betware, and Creandum are backing them too. I'm so sorry if I said any of those wrong. Just to clarify, these are not publishers, these are investors. Opening and producing a game studio is not cheap. You have things like a team, an office place, software, equipment, and all of that. So $1 to $2 million spent on that is understandable, but $7 million, I'm just wondering how it's flowing into this game and how that's securing a bug-free game. Releasing an early access game before it is truly early access, in many people's opinions, with the amount of money that is backing them, is just a little concerning to me. I don't expect them to share their financial information with us, and I don't expect them to tell us how exactly they're putting the money and distributing it into the game production, but $7 million could potentially be just the beginning, because usually how investment works is they give the money and then when they see progress or profit, they give more money, because they're going to be getting that money or already getting that money back into their pocket. So that's what an investment is. Investments can also be tricky, so there is a chance that someone would be giving money to a game studio and then that project ends up not going anywhere. Not only this, but they also claim to have some of the best team members from past big names like Blizzard and Arrowhead Game Studios. So there's a lot of hope packing this punch, but there has been little punch to this game as of yet. In their defense, they did something called motion capture, or mocap. Big credits to Rattle for telling me about this. If you guys want to go check out her channel, she's also doing a video about this. Motion capture, or mocap, is the process of recording the movement of people, animals, or objects and translating that motion into digital data for use in film, video games, animation, or research. It works by using sensors, cameras, or markers attached to the subject. I don't know if you guys have ever seen the behind the scenes of the Avatar movies being made, but you'll see the actors with dots on their face. This is motion capture. It allows distinguishable features from the voice actor's actual face to be animated and put on the characters. It makes things much easier with animating and creating any sort of animations in games. Think of it as turning real-life motion into digital motion. Now, from the Steam page, we know that they did this with animals, which were horses, and I think they also did this with humans. After doing extensive research, studio rentals and equipments go from $1,500 to $20,000 in just purchases, and studio rentals go from $1,500 to $5,000 per day. And that is not including the actors or the talent costs. Supposedly, Blue Scarab Entertainment also rented out an area in Canada and had to transport over to there as well since they are based in Sweden, so that is even more funds added on to that. So believe me when I say that me saying $7 million is a crazy amount and they should be doing more with it. I'm sure they're using it in the best way possible. What's concerning to me is with the amount of investment and backing with them, they still released the early access far too early and with far too many bugs for the price. I just wanted to share a little bit more about the funding other than publishing and also talk a little bit about motion capture. The plot is simple, or is it? Your mother went missing, and a teen girl was unalived. Your task is to find your mom and find out more behind the sad passing of a girl you once knew. The plot currently revolves around a murder mystery, but it is also described as a mature game that was always wanted by the adult part of the horse community. This makes it very exciting. except the plot is mostly PowerPoint slides and running from one side of the map to the other, and it has a lot of moments where it's predictable. I already warned you guys on spoilers, but if you haven't played the most recent update, then shut your ears. Sarah is out here randomly guessing how Jenna passed, and it happened to be a mythological creature that may also be connected to your mom's disappearance. Yeah, I can't believe this is actually where Jenny was killed. It confuses me because she's like, let's go see her body. Oh my god, it's her body. Let's go see where she died. Oh my god, it's where she died. Yeah. She makes no sense to me. Please don't get upset, just hear me out. The whole thing just reminds me of the old legend your mom used to tell us when we were kids. The Nightwalker. Maybe I'm stretching, but does any of this strike you as being done by a regular ass wolf?
They're kind of jumping to conclusions without any evidence. The only thing that we know is that the wolf bites were different sizes. That's all we know. But it doesn't say anything else. And another like, oh, you know, maybe the wolf gave her a chance. We don't see any prints of a wolf.
No process of elimination, no doubt. Just, oh hey, what if it was this creepy monster? The plot is far too quick. They find out a new thing each quest, and it seems like they're not going anywhere but somewhere still. How I would describe it is this plot is a lot of words, but no context. We need to go find a man who is bad, but nobody is telling you why he is bad. When I talk to the man, we still do not know why he is bad. Jenna, the teen girl who was unalived, has a brother named Jet. There is a very sudden sewer slide attempt by him, and the scene to talk him out of it was a few lines long. And then after, he says, go try this race. Why is there a race right after this? A man almost took his life off of a bridge and they're like, yep, perfect time for a race. Besides the sole reasoning behind why Jenna is no longer with us, this is not a mystery. This is just seemingly immature writing. Alex is trying to find her mom, and this girl was found dead in the woods, and everyone's like, whoa, maybe go get Tack first before we solve this mystery. In the beginning of the story, Alex was going through the barn and talking about how each item flashed her back to a mistreatment in her childhood. I wonder how many other 10-year-olds were forced to spend the night all alone in the woods for survival training. Excuse me? I get cold sweats and taste of bile just looking at a jump rope. I feel like this game is also her trauma dumping a little bit, and I think we should investigate this a bit. Toxic attachment is very real, coming from someone who went through it. But would Alex leave this place and then come back to save her mom, who was downright cruel to her? She got away and dragged herself back because her mom, who treated her poorly, is missing. It just sucks to see a game backing the whole blood over everything stigma. She also comes back broke and doesn't really have any direction in her life, so there really is no redemption for Alex so far. Going on to the genre. It is described as massively multiplayer, RPG, or role-playing game, and early access. The early access part we already know. We'll discuss this later, but there is no roleplay other than grouping up with no plans to add more roleplay. The animations for the horses are rushed and sloppy, and the massively multiplayer are capped servers that do not allow many to be in one place before the game breaks. Sure, this is still early access, but calling it that and then not providing that, even in early access, is difficult to defend. On the Steam page, it says, for fans of horses, murder mysteries, and cozy exploration. It also shows that one of the user-defined tags is cozy. I sense that many are going to disagree with me on this. I do not think that this is cozy. This is more like a mixture of adventure and mystery. In my opinion, and many others, cozy does not tie into murder mystery. Don't get me wrong, you can call it cozy, and you can be cozy while playing a cozy game, but cozy is laid-back gaming without the idea that you're about to see a body. Now, there are some cozy aspects to it, like foraging, but that does not mean the game is cozy. The developer's commitment to community engagement and transparent development practices suggests a promising trajectory for the game's growth and evolution. Let's begin with each point of the game and why I believe this game is another microtransaction in the making. I'm not going to be negative through this entire video, so there are going to be parts where I praise the game because there are some things in this game that are worth praising. This is going to be a big topic because it dissects the gnarly truth. Were horses needed here? I'm not saying horses would not fit with an epic journey of adventure, mystery, and searching for your mom that mistreated you, but it seems like horses are just a convenient placement. Other than racing your horse, there is no real bond with the horse. No training, no workup to the first ride, and no drama behind the truth of long trail jogs. There is some realism behind the horse, for example, stamina and the sprint, but the horse itself seems like a last-minute decision rather than part of the game. They are easy for the transportation side of things, but other than some treat and tack quests, there's not much more for the horses. In the newest quest line or update, we went to a vehicle yard with abandoned vehicles. Why don't we have a vehicle or something else to get around with? Why add horses if no horse things? Why no horse things if horses? Why? This site's earlier mentioned, but the horse races seemed so poorly timed. Jet tries to jump off a bridge and then minutes later says, "Hey, try this cool new race. I'm all better." If I had free will, I would be very concerned for that man and not racing my horse through a forest. The game quality itself is pretty good. Between the landscaping, quality of characters, animations, and scenes, it's a quality plotline and setting for the game to have started out. Some scenes are rendered clips, whilst others are sketches, and some are like a PowerPoint slip. This will hopefully change with the progression of early access. This is a big question that many gamers are asking. Was this game ready for early access? Graphics-wise, I believe that it's prepared for early access, but scenes-wise, I don't think it's ready for early access. This is my personal opinion, but if you have a early access game section prepared 8 to 12 hours, then every part of that should be as flawless as possible. There are going to be bugs, there are going to be issues, people are going to come up with things that you need to fix, but at least put the effort of giving a good early access release. This game, with as much effort as offered, was based off of assets purchased. The horses purchased, and many are questioning that these developers allegedly used AI developed animations to put on their horses. Their Steam page says otherwise, with the analyzing factor of their claim to make their own animations. But this is a little alarming. While the studio has confirmed the use of AI tools for certain aspects of development, they have emphasized that these tools are not intended to replace human artists or generate in-game assets. CEO Colin Cragg stated that AI is used to handle grunt and unpleasant tasks, allowing the team to focus on more creative endeavors. Additionally, the studio apparently has a policy against using AI-generated art in the game, and with all in-game assets being created by hand. So what he is saying is he didn't want to pay someone to handle the boring tasks and instead asked AI to do it, which is his choice and is not really up for debate. AI still makes mistakes, so using it is still using manpower to look over it after. Ash, one of the community directors, answered some questions about this. They claimed that the studio has a policy of avoiding the usage of AI in the project. Observe the wording here. Avoiding. AI is helpful as much as it is harmful. I just wish they'd be upfront on what exactly they've used AI on rather than just ominously stating it was used. Ash also stated that we use UE marketplace assets at times as usual in-game development. This means that they used pre-made assets for parts of the game. I was sent this video, which shows a pretty convincing relation to the Equinox model. It's a model video showing something made out of AI components. Please remember that this is alleged. This is not proven for sure, and unless they come out and say it, these sources should be taken as speculation. There are a few quick points I want to make for quality after that. The camera angles will be fixed, surely, but they are so difficult to see the actual NPC. There's a lot in the game that doesn't make sense. Why do we have a ranger who doesn't wear socks and can't follow animal tracks? Kyle, you're not wearing socks? You think there's a body in here?
Yes.
I've watched so much true crime. This looks like the perfect place to hide a body. Kyle, maybe Kyle's the reason my mom's missing. Mom, come out. Mom. He's like, actually, I'm a ranger, but I don't have socks on, and I also don't know how to track. Prints are backwards.
Rest of us here are like flipping over the story, and Peachy just being, those prints are backward.
You're like, oh wow, a deer eating a fox. I'm like, the prints aren't meant to be this way. Rotate them 180 or get out of here. Why do most of the men resemble Zac Efron in some way and have big muscles? Why are Samuel and Kyle not romantically involved? That's a joke, by the way, but imagine. That love story would be crazy cool. Rattle was in a call with me earlier this week and watching me play the game, and we just kept on joking about it, but why don't we have any romance? I think that would be cool if we had like a twist to it. Why do some of the houses not match others? There's a random forest mansion with gates.
This house looks so out of place.
And then a lighthouse is broken down with a near flawless house attached. Assets or not, they could have put in more effort blending these together. Don't get me wrong, copy and paste buildings are not cool, but having different styles in one game is just a lot to see. This review was given by a lovely Steam community member. Let's talk about the elephant in the room. It is not an MMORPG. The story, your mother got lost, someone has been murdered, and everyone's mother is lost, does not lean to MMORPG at all. Let me be clear, it is called MMORPG because it has been normalized that MMOs like WoW cash in about 10 to 15 bucks each month. And that's it. They just want to have a sign that can tap onto why they're milking your bank account each month. DLCs and other stuff will be additional to the monthly sum after EA, so this gets costly very fast. Also, the game servers run on Unreal, so they currently hold about 60 players per server. 60 players is not an MMORPG. It's a very small battlefield match. But with the same reason, there will never be an offline play mode. Offline does not generate revenue, and horse people are easy to scam, because they just want to have any game at all. Another review says, this game has a lot of potential. It's got hints of some supernatural spooks, which I adore. There is one glaring problem that I have. After playing the single one chapter that this early access title has, this bare bones experience costs $25. $25 is an insane price to charge for a game that doesn't even have cinematics for 90% of their cutscenes. Instead, we get a few gray slides with 1 to 2 sentences of what we could be seeing. If you're going to release early access and have barely anything finished, and so long as you've communicated that with players, fine, but don't charge the same price that many games charge for a fully finished game, and give me barely anything in return with promises that I'll get my money's worth later. How many horse game projects have been abandoned partway through? Most of them. $10? Sure, but $25 is way too much for 3 cutscenes and 4 hours, if that, worth of content. These reviews were very brutal but very truthful. This game is supposedly multiplayer, but this Steam review is correct. How are we meant to immerse ourselves in this game like similar ones if we're all technically the same person? No unique backgrounds. Though someone could argue the same about Star Stable Online or a game with the same quest line. We're all basically the same person to the NPCs and lore, and also different people on multiplayer. It's a confusing but not exactly misleading thing. But is it MMORPG? Not really, no. We already spoke about the DLCs, subscriptions, and all of that taxing stuff, but I want to go over why a subscription-based game means the plot could potentially never end. So people will either subscribe or get it early access. While this approach aims to provide continuous content and support for the game's development, it has raised concerns within the gaming community. Critics argue that implementing a subscription model during early access when the game is still in development and may lack full features can be perceived as exploitative. Players are essentially paying for an incomplete content with the promise of future updates, which may or may not meet expectations. It's the same vibe as Kickstarter, which allows people to donate to a game that hasn't really begun its early access phases. This also raises the question, when will it stop? If they're already introducing a subscription fee and planning DLC before the full release, what's to stop this from becoming yet another money-hungry empire in disguise? Take the $25 USD entry fee, then tack on future DLCs and content drops designed more to squeeze wallets than to enrich gameplay. How are we supposed to trust that this game will ever truly be finished? Which brings me to my next point. Do we honestly believe we'll ever find Alex's mom? The core plot revolves around her disappearance and the mystery we're supposed to unravel. But here's the issue. Once players figure it out, what incentive is left to stay? What's going to keep people paying that monthly subscription, buying pack after pack of content? I don't think people fully realize that this could easily turn into yet another endless grind of half-baked quests, shallow lore, and painfully long waits between updates. For players to keep their wallets open, the story has to keep expanding, and that often leads to an everlasting MMO cycle where the game never truly ends. Now, to be fair, the story is so far pretty solid, but we've only seen about 8 to 10 hours of content, and that is if you're going at a snail pace. How can anyone be certain the developers will continue to deliver with the same quality, or even follow through on the promises they've made? An analysis from 2014 reported that only 25% of early access games on Steam had been completed and released as full games. 25%, and that's in the last 11 years. I am scared. At the end of the day, whether to buy and play Equinox Homecoming is ultimately your choice. You're free to support indie developers and enjoy early access experiences, but it's important to understand what you're paying for. Right now, the game is in early access, with limited content, questions around asset sourcing, potential AI use, and a monetization model that could quickly become expensive. For players looking for a fully realized, polished horse game experience, this isn't the right time to dive in. The promises of future updates, story content, and additional DLC are just that, promises. Support if you wish, but do so with eyes wide open. Your time, money, and expectations are valuable. Don't let them be spent on half-baked promises. Do not feel guilty for buying and investing in the studio. If you liked it, then you liked it. But I will leave you all with one question. If this game were free or lower cost, would the same controversy exist? Thanks for watching, and I hope you all enjoyed my very first debate video. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I will see you in the next video.